Hi, this is Michael Williams, and in this tutorial I'm going to be walking you through everything you need to know about navigation in Poco 5 and in FileMaker Pro. FileMaker Pro is database software that we use to create Poco 5, so a lot of the navigation in Poco 5 is reliant upon FileMaker Pro. Most of the navigation that you'll be concerned with in FileMaker Pro actually exists here in the top left corner. FileMaker holds information in a series of records, and each record will contain a collection of information about a particular thing, whether it's people or vendors or flights. To move between these records, you can use these left and right arrows. By clicking on these, you can see that I'm moving between the records in FileMaker Pro. And I can click the back arrow to go back through the records. Notice that as I'm clicking the arrow, you can see this little slider and this number change. The number is the record number in the current found set, and the slider is a convenient way to slide through lots of records all at once. To the right of the slider is a circle and a total number of records that have been found. This circle is actually a pie chart. We're currently looking at the total found set of records in FileMaker Pro, so it doesn't show any data. But if I perform a find using one of Poco's find and sort buttons over here, you can see that we've currently found about 3/4 of the data that's in the database right now, 66 out of 84 records. And FileMaker will also show us that it has sorted these records. There are also a number of buttons here further to the right. If I wanted to show all of the records, I can click on the Show All button. And I can also create a new person or delete the current person that I'm looking at by clicking on either one of these buttons right here. The Find and Sort buttons are also here. They are part of FileMaker Pro. But in Poco, we've actually created a number of different ways to find and sort records that are probably more convenient for production. So you may not use these that often. There are even more ways to manipulate these records by clicking here on the People menu item. This menu item actually will change its name depending on which tab you're looking at in Poco. So for instance, right now it is called the People menu item because I'm currently looking at the People tab in Poco. But if I switch to Vendors, you'll see that that same menu item is now changed to Vendors. And the same will be true for flights, hotels, cars, and shoot day. Going back to the People tab for a moment, on the People menu item, you can see you can create a new person, you can duplicate a person. This generally is not advisable in Poco as it can create confusion between records, and you can delete a person. Also something to see down here is the ability to omit current records individually from the current found set. This can be handy when you're trying to create a very specific found set in order to do something with that data, like create a list or send emails. The next row down here on the menu bar is the Layout pull-down. If you click this, you can see all the different layouts that have been created inside of Poco. Because there are over 100 different layouts in Poco, there wasn't enough space to actually create buttons for each one of the different layouts. So this Layouts pull-down is probably the most convenient way for you to get to a lot of these different layouts. This button right here, the Preview button, will show you what a document looks like when you actually print it out. So in this example, let's go to the crew list, and by clicking on the Preview button, you can see what it looks like when you actually print it. And the last item over here on the far right is the Edit Layout button. If you're going to be making any changes to the layout, such as moving or adding fields, just click on this button and you'll be able to make your changes. You can also see a double A icon right here. This will bring up a formatting bar, which will allow you to make changes to text once it's selected. I'll go ahead and close this back up. There are two additional areas you'll be able to manage in FileMaker Pro. You can go to the File, Manage, and then you'll see two items here, Value Lists and Layouts. The Value Lists item lets you edit value lists throughout Poco. Value lists are used in pull-down menus, such as the ones located right here. You can see all of the different values in this current list. To edit these, you go back up to File, Manage, Value Lists, find the list you want to edit, double-click on it, and then you can make your changes. Most of these value lists are editable. A few of them have been restricted, but the ones that have been restricted mostly have to do with the internal software workings and not with lists that you would need to actually change. You can also edit most of these lists from the bottom of the pull downs. If you scroll to the very bottom last item here, you'll see an edit, and that will allow you to make edits as well. And the last area in FileMaker you'll be able to manage is the Layouts menu. Much like the Layouts pull down, this will show you a list of all the different layouts. But this will actually allow you to make changes to the layout settings for each one of these. It will also allow you to create new layouts or duplicate existing layouts if you wanted to make changes to them. And that covers all of the different navigation items for FileMaker Pro. The navigation in Poco 5 is broken down into a series of tabs. These are the main tabs here up at the top. There's a People tab, a Vendors tab, a Flights tab, Hotels, Cars, and Shoot Day. There's also a Setup tab over here to the far right. In each one of these data entry tabs, you'll also find a series of sub-tabs. Each one of these sub-tabs will contain a series of fields that's related to the name of the sub-tab. And we'll be doing videos on each one of these so you have an understanding of exactly what each one of these fields does. At the very bottom of both the data entry tabs and of all of the documents you can publish in Poco are a series of buttons. These blue buttons provide you with an easy way to get to some of your most commonly used documents. So for instance, in the People tab, we have the crew list, cast list, studio list, phone extension list, birthday list, sizes list, labels, and a distribution log. In the Vendors tab, because we're only dealing with vendors, we only have the vendors list and then a short list view of the vendors. Flights would contain itineraries, travel authorizations, and various flight lists, and hotels and cars would contain just lists of those items. The Shoot Day tab has buttons for the daily status report and a film use averages report. Poco contains a number of icons that are used throughout the software, and I'd like to point some of these out to you now so you have an understanding of what they do. This plus icon is probably the most common icon in Poco, and it allows you to add a record to whatever it is next to. So for instance here, this is the flights portal. If I wanted to add a new flight for James Stevenson, I would just click on this plus icon right here, and Poco would help me to create one. These magnifying glass icons allow us to do quick finds, which allows us to find data that is similar to the data that's already in this field. For instance, if I wanted to find everyone who has a department set as producer, director, writer, I could click on the quick find button right here. You can see that the found set has changed, and now only the people that are in the producer, director, writer department are in the found set. The Contacts subtab contains a couple different icons. This pin icon here will allow you to Google Map any address that you find in Poco. Just clicking on it will open up your browser, and a Google Map will be presented pointing to this address. These email icons will allow you to either send an email directly to the person in this field, or when you see them over here in the Publish subtab, sending out an email to everyone who is on this current distribution list for the corresponding item. The Flights tab contains an icon that will allow you to perform a search on Google for the flight status of a current flight. Clicking on this icon will launch your browser and bring up Google, and Google will show you the current flight status, including gate assignments and any other information they have. And these little arrow icons, which you'll see throughout Poco, generally paste information that is related to the field that they are pointing at, and each one will have a different use. And then last but not least, these are related record icons. These icons will help you navigate back to the original record that is related to the data in this field. So for instance, if I wanted to go to Gary M. Newman's record in the People tab, I would just click on the related record icon right here, and Poco will take me right there. The same is true of flights. If I wanted to go to this flight for Gary Newman, I would just click on this icon right here, and it will take me right back to the Flights tab. The last area I'd like to cover in this video is the Poco menu item up here at the very top. This menu item contains a number of different tools which have been created to help you in your job. There are quick data entry screens for both the People tab and the Vendor tab. You can send emails or SMS messages to the current found set of records. You can export vCards from the People or Vendors tabs, back up, import, or delete all of your data, and you can also get your registration information or more information about Poco. And we'll be covering each one of these items in detail in other videos. And that about covers it for navigation in FileMaker Pro and Poco 5. Be sure to hit us up on both our Facebook and our Twitter feeds. We would love to hear what you think of the product. Thanks again, and we really hope that you enjoy using Poco 5.